anyways,
Yeah.
you tell that we have to go to the
we have to go
police
to the
station.
police station. So the next day we go to the police station and we meet the chief of the police. He invites us in his room.
Right.
And he says, your name, Ygartua. I said, that's right. He says, that's Basque. I said, yes, my family are Basque. He said, my grandmother was Basque.
Ooh.
He said, good God. He said, that's great to meet you. He said, nice to meet another Basque. And so we chatted away about the Basque country. And then he opens this drawer. He says, it was full of marijuana.
Right.
And he says,
Acapulco
we take all
gold.
this Acapulco gold off the tourists in the week. He said, and I take it to my brother's club and we smoke it there every weekend.
And he's talking to us like he's known us.
And he says,
like a cousin
he
or
says, I'm
something.
inviting you to come with me this
Oh,
weekend
oh my gosh.
to my brother's club. It's
Okay.
the
Her
biggest
cousin's
club in
club, yeah.
town. And so I'm going, oh, okay.
Nice, yeah.
And he said, don't worry, I'll write this letter to you and you'll be able to stay as long as you want in Mexico and you'll be able to get through any border. And he wrote this beautiful letter explaining what had happened and how we were nice people and how, And he put the seal of his, police stamp on it or whatever. So I said, we get out there and I said to Joanne, we ain't going to be seeing him again.
Yeah, let's go.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I've heard of stories like this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the black guy, he
Cleaned up and everything.
Then he says, hey,
Come
you
with
guys,
us, we're going to the red zone tonight. So
La
we all went
Zona
with him.
Roja.
La Zona Roja, yeah.
It's all these swing open bars.
Yeah, they had cockfighting and
They had
dancing.
cockfighting in the streets outside.
Ooh.
So we went most weekends down.
That was an experience when Joanne actually picked one of the
I'm not
fighting
sure
cocks
about
up in
that.
her hands.
He says that. I'm not sure.
Yes, and
not
gave
sure.
the thing a kiss.
I doubt it. Paul.
And everybody around jumped back. They were.
I cannot.
They couldn't believe what was
anyways.
happening. Well, Joanne, by then we'd had quite a lot of
few drinks. Yeah.
few drinks.
Anyways, it was. It certainly was fun.
Fun, wild.
It was wild.
It was wild. The
And
word fun didn't exist for that. It was just dangerous and wild.
Yeah, I guess so.
Very dangerous, but in those days we didn't sense any danger,
Yeah, and you were, how old were you at this time? Early 20s? Mid-20s?
Early
Yeah.
20s.
Early
Yeah.
20s,
It's funny, when you're in your early 20s, you're not afraid of anything.
No.
You don't care about anything. You take your chances to risk your life sometimes. It's when you get to
you don't
40 or
think you're doing
50
that.
that you decide you want to live forever.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's once you have children, you're always being protective.
I think so,
You know.
yeah. I think the
And
children...
plus, the older you get, the more valuable life becomes.
I don't know. It's always been
Possibly, yeah.
valuable to me.
And any seaside adventures in Acapulco?
Oh, you're with the nets.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, my God.
I used to watch this guy every day come in front of us with a net, and he'd throw it in. As the wave came in, he'd throw it into the wave and pull it up, and there'd be about 10 fish in it.
Easy.
And I watched him do this, and I'd say to Joanne, my God, we never have to buy fish again. I'm gonna find out. And so I went down and talked to him, and I said, I'd like a net like yours. Can I buy a net off you?
Right.
He says, well, I'll make you one. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, make me a big one, because I'm not very, little ones, won't catch. I want to catch more fish, so make a big one. He made me this net that was very difficult to throw to begin with.
Yeah,
He could do
sure.
it. He could throw it,
He
and
could
he could barely throw it himself. When it came to me throwing it, I mean, this is a technique. It takes years of practice.
Yeah, this is like from one generation to the
needless to
next.
say, I never caught a bloody fish with it. Took it back to Vancouver.
Oh, you must have, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Vancouver.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Massive.
Oh,
big
and
net.
then you had the kids with the oysters.
Oh, then I had the kids. They were collecting oysters and eating them on the side of the water there.
Wow.
So I watched them diving in and getting these oysters and bringing them up and cleaning them and everything and eating them, putting a bit of lemon on or lime juice or whatever.
Yeah.
So I went up to them and said, hey, how do you do this? Teach me how to do this. So he said, well, okay, I'll teach you if you let me have your mask. So I gave him my mask so he could see better.
Yeah, but as a gift.
As a gift. That was a gift.
Oh, yeah.
So he taught me how to do it. He said, what you do is you dive down, you grab the biggest rock and you put it under one arm. So you're actually kept down without kicking to stay down.
Right.
So then you can walk around on the bottom, 10 foot down, walk around looking for oysters. And the oysters, you can tell them because they look like rocks, except they have a little tongue coming out the side. And those are the oysters.
Right.
So I was able to go down and collect a few myself and learn how to do it.
And that was more successful.
A little more. We did have a couple of aperitifs.
Only a couple.
But in the end, it was a lot of work.
It was so delicious, but it took too long.
Too long to find the bloody things and get them.
You always think,
these kids were experts.
Yeah, we think, they're just survivors. Are you kidding?
No.
It's extraordinary. They're
Very clever.
skilled. Yeah.
And so, in terms of art, you were sending stuff back at that time. Is that right?
Yeah.
To the gallery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like half of what you did or whatever you didn't sell or specific types of stuff?
We took
just a lot of this, like we could package it up and roll it so it was easy to mail.
But you're always worried.
We're always worried about mailing.
Things that never got to us.
The best stuff I kept back and took with us back, the stuff that was valuable that I didn't want to risk with the mail.
Yeah, but of course we were sending. To send was easier. If you
forget receiving anything.
Receiving, you don't get it.
It gets stolen before it gets to you.
Christmas gifts we did not get from England or, from my parents. Nothing arrived.
Really?
But mailing it
was easier
seemed
to
to be...
mail it. If you went to the central office, once it was in that office, it was safe.
Yeah, and going out of the country, I think it's harder for them to...
That's right.
Do anything. But
and how was the gallery? Did you get word of how the gallery was going in these 6 months? Did you get any?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it going?
Yeah.
I was constantly selling something.
Yeah,
really?
It was pretty good. I left them quite a few pennies before we left.
Yeah.
I stocked them up.
Oh, Paul, the speed he works, there's never a problem, having enough
for supply
of stock. Yeah, and who was and your dad had employed other people to be there doing that work.
He had a temporary girl. I think she was Norwegian or some. Oh no, she's married to the Norwegian guy, and we're a very transient city as well, Vancouver. So we often have people coming and going. So I guess it was a 6-month job, and it just worked out. I don't know how Father always worked things out, but
you always had the job when you got back.
Yeah,
even if it was a short time.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
At that time. I mean, later from 1975, then he hired Stella, who was permanent, right?
That's right.
It was just during that time period.
Okay. And the next stop, Mexico City, is that right?
That's right, Mexico City, yeah.
The big one.
7,000
It was like
feet
going to
above
Mexico
sea
City
level.
was like going up a steep hill.
Really?
Because it's like, 7,000 foot.
Oh, your ears pop like the plane.
And it's all within 150 miles or 100 miles. So it's like all uphill, all the way. My poor vehicle.
And it's known to be the world's worst for traffic.
Oh, God,
and we enter Mexico City. And Paul, he has a sixth sense anyways. He is an excellent driver. And I don't know, I guess he likes challenge. 7 lanes, chaotic crossing.
You've got to become Mexican when you're driving there.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't try and drive like any other country. Drive like a Mexican. And they appreciate that as well.
Yeah, they do.
Otherwise, they take advantage of you and they butt in on you and they cut you out. And so you've got to almost... And luckily, I had an old car, so I wasn't too worried about a scratch or two.
Well, they probably thought
and every car has a scratch there.
Yeah, they all do.
There's no such a thing as a new car. I never saw one in the whole time I was there, Yeah.
They deal with,
I love the way if you get a parking ticket there, you don't get a ticket. They just take your number plate off.
What?
Oh, you got to pay.
Really?
You got to go to the police station to get your bloody number plate back.
That's not bad.
And then they charge you. That's what happened to me once. Only once. After that,
Are you sure that wasn't in Paris?
No, that was in Acapulco.
Yeah.
We had to go to the police station, and I had to go and ask for my license plates. And they gave them to me back and charged me $25.
Well, they probably knew you were that was a foreign license.
Yes, because I was a foreigner, they charged me more,
yeah.
obviously.
And so, what was Mexico City like compared to Acapulco? And
another
what did you
world.
do there?
Completely different.
Oh, really?
Well, we basically did our travelling, or what did we do mostly, Joanne? We saw a lot of sights. We were there for a few days.
Yeah. Well, we had the...
Diego Rivera's murals.
Oh, yes.
We got to see his great murals.
That was the Palacio Nacional. We got a hotel that was close to all of this again. And, we spent just a couple of days going around and seen all the historical sites. The museum, Diego was quite something. These mammoth murals and, just the fact that he could introduce...
Very inspiring.
Communism, the people's right, the workers, he could do anything. It didn't matter about the subject, the size,
but they all had messages.
Yeah.
His were working for the working class and communism and socialism.
It's like absolute freedom they gave their artists, which they don't in other countries. Controversial subjects, you can't do that or it can't be there.
Political correctness.
Political correctness, that sort of didn't exist. So that was quite a thrill.
They're quite incredible, aren't they? They're just chock full of information, artistic information, aren't they? Those murals, they're incredible.
Faces, hundreds of faces.
Faces and just people
and
crammed
the expressions. Up. And if you look into the faces, you recognise characters like Mussolini and places. You know what I mean? They have all these communists. Lenin was in one or two. Yeah. He uses all these faces of characters who are famous, and they're buried in his murals. You have to look for them,
I was just going to say, was that any inspiration at all? Was there any link with that, with your murals later on, or not at all? Did you remember that
really,
when you did
but
them?
Obviously, yeah, of course. That was.
Well, I would always like, these small towns that ask Paul, to do these murals. I always wish that they would ask him to create, something original.
If they'd have said, "Do what you want," that would have been a lot more fun.
Yeah.
But usually I was painting towards what it was that they were interested in, usually the culture or history of the town, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wasn't... sometimes it was something I loved to do, like when I did the native mural in Chemainus, because the natives was something I was really into,
Well, even Expo is interesting because you have all the different nationalities.
Expo...
that was fascinating. Yeah. But then we went to, very
50 miles north.
Yeah, 50 miles north is the
Teotihuacan.
How do you pronounce it?
Teotihuacan.
That's right. That's the Mexican...
Teotihuacan site. And that's the Mesoamerican city, which is close to Mexico City.
Like pyramids.
And the most, architecturally significant Mesoamerican pyramids.
Right.
And that was pre-Columbian, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, that was, again, fascinating.
Yeah, that was quite exciting.
I always thought, in the end, our interest in these ancient civilizations, that's continued through our life. And even though at the time we didn't know it, I think really it's the foundation of the story, of the first people of the world for Paul's work.
Yeah.
Probably because
that we constantly
from the
going
Basque
in this
heritage
direction.
as well. That is such an old culture as well. It's the oldest in Europe.
It's the oldest language in Europe, isn't it? It's
the oldest language, yeah.
And they are the most ancient people of Europe, and the language is connected to no other. These are facts. So I think always coming from heritage.
They have cave paintings and cave dwellings in the north there that I went down when they were actually allowed to go down. Now they're all closed for the public. But back 50, 60, 70 years ago, you could actually go in them with guided tours. And there's some of the paintings in there of the wild beasts and wild animals was really quite fascinating as well.
And so, that's true. It's exactly what you're talking about is you start with your Basque heritage and then you move over to Western Canada and North America where there was a very interesting and unique native culture, and now you're traveling off to Mexico, where there's one or